Under the golden haze of the late afternoon sun, the gates of Villa Ardentia glimmered like quiet guards at the edge of Lake Orta. A man in a faded navy uniform stood there. His cap sat low. His hands, old and steady, held the iron bars. To strangers, he looked like a tired gatekeeper at the end of a long shift. A silver coupe screeched to a stop. A young woman in a silk dress stepped out, lifted her chin, and stared at the gatekeeper. "Open it," she snapped. "Now." He gave a small bow. "Good evening, Signorina. May I please see your invite?" Her eyes flashed. She took a crystal glass from the car's cup holder. "You want proof?" She lifted the glass and, in a calm, cold motion, tilted it. The drink splashed down his cheek. It soaked the collar of his uniform. Sticky liquid ran over the old man's jaw. He didn't flinch, but his eyes turned wet in a different way. No one guessed that behind the lines of that weathered face was Kaspar Iliev, owner of Iliev Meridian Group, a man with companies across continents and a heart scarred by the weight of choosing right or choosing easy. This was not about guarding metal gates. This was about guarding his only son's future. The old man swallowed hard and whispered, "Thank you for showing me who you are." The woman smirked, tossed the empty glass back into the car, and the engine roared. What would happen when she learned who he really was? If stories like this grip you, hit like, drop a comment, and tell me where you're watching from, your city and country, and of course, subscribe for more. Kaspar Iliev was 62. Lean, tall, strong eyes, kind voice. He had built ships, hospitals, and schools. He could buy a jet in an afternoon. But money never calmed his biggest fear. Will my son choose a partner with a kind heart? He had made mistakes before. He trusted shiny promises and paid a heavy price. He had seen charm that hid cruel hands. He promised himself that his son would not fall into the same trap. His son, Dario Iliev, was 28. He worked in the family's renewable energy arm. He wore sneakers to meetings and listened more than he talked. He wanted to help the planet and build honest things. He loved music and fixing old bicycles. He believed people first, money second. Dario had fallen in love with Nadia Moretti, 26, a model and PR manager for a luxury brand. She was beautiful, sharp, and always camera-ready. She smiled for photos with perfect ease. She spoke 4 languages. She knew which fork to use at a 10-course meal. Everyone said she was a star. Everyone except Kaspar's quiet worry. Kaspar could hire investigators. He could call every hotel she had ever stayed in. But he wanted to see with his own eyes. Not a folder, not a rumor, truth. So he chose a simple test. "I will be the gatekeeper at Villa Ardentia," he told his head of security, Merrick. "For one day, no one tells Nadia. I want to see how she treats someone with no power." Merrick frowned. "Sir, is that safe?" Kaspar smiled. "It is not about safety. It is about the future." A soft mist rolled over the lake. Birds cut thin letters across the sky. The estate's stone lanes smelled like pine and lemon oil from the gardener's tools. Kaspar put on the faded uniform. He tugged the brim of the cap down just so. A tiny smudge across his cheek aged him even more. He looked in the mirror. Gone was Kaspar the billionaire. In his place stood Petter, a gatekeeper with stiff knees and a patient soul. He stepped into the small booth by the iron gates. He checked the list of invites. He breathed in. He felt a tremble in his chest. This was not a business deal. This was something deeper. The first cars arrived. Guests were kind. A woman in a bright scarf offered him a pastry. A man with a violin case thanked him for keeping the estate safe. Each small kindness built a little hope in his chest. Maybe he thought Nadia would be the same. Then the silver coupe curved into view. The door swung open. Nadia stepped out. Her heels ticked on the stone like small hammers. Sunglasses, lip color precise, hair pinned in a clean twist. Her phone buzzed in her hand. "Open the gate," she said, eyes never leaving the screen. Kaspar Petter smiled. "Good afternoon. Do you have your invite, please?" "I'm here for Dario," she replied, bored. "Let me through." "Of course. I only need to see." She sighed, pulled a sleek card from her purse. and held it out with 2 fingers as if it were dirty. He reached for it. She dropped it before his hand reached. The card fluttered to the ground. He bent slowly to pick it up. His knees cracked. She rolled her eyes. "This is ridiculous." He scanned the card. It was real. "Thank you," he said. "Welcome." She smiled, but it never reached her eyes. Finally, as he pressed the button to open the gates, a delivery van honked behind her car. Fresh flowers for the evening event. Nadia cut the driver a look so sharp he shrank. "Wait your turn," she snapped. "Some of us have places to be." Cliffhanger. The gate arm lifted. Nadia pressed the accelerator. But then she brake-tapped, leaned out and said, "Old man, wipe your counter. It looks dusty." She tossed the used tissue. It landed on the booth floor. Would Kaspar let it go? Or push a little further? Kaspar kept his voice soft. "Signorina, may I ask for one small favor? The road to the villa is narrow. Please keep to 20 kilometers an hour. The gardeners are trimming the hedges." She stared. "Are you serious?" "Yes," he said. "It keeps everyone safe." She laughed, sharp and loud. "I drive how I want." She raised the window and shot forward. The delivery driver gave the gatekeeper an apologetic shrug and followed slow. As asked, Kaspar stood very still. His chest hurt, but he told himself one moment is not a person. He still had hours to learn more. At noon, Dario arrived by bicycle with 2 cups of soup from the staff kitchen. He didn't notice the makeup under his father's cap. He only saw an older worker at the gate, and he smiled. "Sir," Dario said, "have you eaten? The soup is warm. It's tomato and basil. It's very good." Kaspar took the cup with careful hands. "You are kind." Dario grinned. "My name is Dario. Are you new here?" "Yes," Kaspar said, "just for today." As they ate, a little boy on a scooter raced by the gate, chasing a red balloon. His grandmother called after him, laughing. Dario jumped up and caught the balloon's string before it floated away, handing it back. "Here you go, champ." Kaspar watched his son and felt pride rise like sunlight. This is a good man, he thought. He deserves someone good beside him. A shadow fell across them. He looked up. Nadia stood there with the silver coupe idling, eyes on Dario, not the gatekeeper. Her smile was sweet as candy. "Darling," she said to Dario, "come with me. We have to talk alone." Would she be the same when it was just the 3 of them? Dario beamed. "Nadia, this is..." He paused, uncertain of the gatekeeper's name tag faded by time. "Petter," Kaspar said. Nadia gave a quick nod, then slid her gaze over the worn uniform and the soup cup. Her smile cooled. "Dario, we're late for the stylist. Also, your father's gala is tonight. You can't show up sweaty." Dario laughed. "I like the bike." She leaned closer and dropped her voice, but Kaspar heard every word. "You like many simple things. That is cute, but we must look the part. People judge." Dario's smile faded. "People also see who we really are." She touched his arm. "And who we really are is winners." She turned to Kaspar. "Old man, open the gate. And next time, don't let random vans in before me. Learn the order." Kaspar held her stare. "The flowers were for the gala." Nadia shrugged. "Then they can wait." Dario looked from one face to the other. "Nadia, could you please speak kindly? He's doing his job." Her lips tightened. "I am always kind, when people don't slow me down." Dario took a breath. "We'll go," he told Nadia. "But tonight, I want to introduce you to my father in a special way." Nadia's eyes flashed with calculation. Special how? Afternoon slid by. The gardeners trimmed. The cooks chopped. The estate hummed like a soft machine. Staff passed the gate and greeted Petter. Many had heard of the test but pretended not to. They were loyal. Lena, a pastry chef with flour on her sleeve, brought a small box. "For you," she told the gatekeeper. "A lemon tart, to keep your energy." Kaspar thanked her. She leaned closer. "Sir, I don't like how that guest spoke to you. I'm sorry you had to hear that." He smiled. "Thank you, Lena. Your cake makes the world better." She blushed and ran back to the kitchen. Kaspar ate in slow bites. He let the tart melt on his tongue. Sweet, sharp, real. He wished the rest of the day could taste like that. Late afternoon, the sun slid lower. A warm wind pushed the lake into little waves. The silver coupe flashed again at the curve. This time, music thumped through the windows. Nadia rolled to a stop with two friends, laughing. She pushed open her door and stepped out with a paper cup in hand. "Open," she said without looking. Kaspar lifted the gate. As her car edged forward, a stray dog padded up to the booth. Thin, dusty, tired eyes. Kaspar knelt, tore a corner of his bread roll, and offered it. The dog wagged once and ate. Nadia's friend wrinkled her nose. "Ew." Nadia looked back. "If that thing scratches my car, I'll make sure you never work in this town again," she told the gatekeeper. Kaspar, stroking the dog, said kindly, "He is hungry. Don't worry. He will not hurt anyone." Nadia hissed, "Keep animals away from the drive." As the car rolled, her paper cup tilted out of the window, on purpose, not by accident, landing next to the booth. The lid popped off. Sticky drink spread in a circle. The dog sniffed, then sneezed. Kaspar exhaled slowly. He picked up the cup, tossed it into the bin, and wiped the spill with the rag he kept for such things. His hands did not shake, but inside something did. He looked up and saw Marek watching from the tree line, face tight. "Are you still sure?" Marek's eyes seemed to ask. Kaspar gave the smallest nod. "Yes, I must know." As golden hour glowed on the water, Dario returned alone, a small wrapped box in his pocket, an old compass he had found and polished for his father. "For luck," he said to himself. He stopped at the gate. "Sir," he told Kaspar, "thank you for your work today. The gala gets loud. If anyone is rude, tell me." Kaspar felt tears press, unexpected and hot. "You are a good man," he said. Dario smiled, easy and warm. "I had a good teacher," he replied, not knowing how true that was. He rode on. Kaspar placed a hand over the compass of his own heart and stood taller. Twilight. Lamps flickered on along the drive, one by one, like stars falling to earth. The orchestra warmed up by the terrace. Guests arrived in silk and tux. Laughter rose like bubbles. The gala had begun. The silver coupe slid in for the third time. Nadia stepped out alone. A jeweled clutch glimmered in her hand. She looked like a poster for a perfect life. Cameras loved her. Tonight, so did the crowd. She walked to the gate booth, stopped, and looked Kaspar up and down, slow. "Remember me?" she asked. "Yes," he said simply. She held up a crystal glass. "Pale drink. One wedge of citrus." "Let me through," she said, "and fix your face. You look tired." He pressed the button. The gate opened. She didn't move. Instead, she tilted the glass. The liquid arced in the air and slapped his cheek, ran down his collar, and soaked into the fabric. Cold, sticky, public. A few guests at the end of the drive gasped. A violin note squeaked and died. Nadia smiled. Oops. Kaspar didn't wipe his cheek. He stood there, water and shame mixing with patience and pain. He had seen cruelty before. He had felt humiliation as a young man, when a banker laughed at his accent. But this was worse because it was for his son. His eyes shone, not only from the drink. "Thank you," he said softly, "for answering my question." She frowned. "What?" He lifted the small microphone at his collar, clicked it off and removed his cap. Marek stepped from the shadows. Two staff members approached and closed the gates behind Nadia with a quiet clank. The music from the terrace faded under the whispering pines. Kaspar straightened his back and looked her in the eyes, the way a father looks when he is done pretending to be small. "I am Kaspar Iliev," he said. Nadia's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes flicked to the ring on her finger, to the gate, to the villa lights beyond. Her face tried on 10 stories in 10 seconds. A voice called from the terrace above. "Father!" Dario stood at the top of the stairs, shocked. The compass box fell from his hand and landed on the stone with a soft thud. What would he do when he saw what she had done? Kaspar did not raise his voice. "Please, come with me," he told Nadia. "Dario is waiting." He walked beside her up the long steps. Each lamp lit their path. Guests turned. Whispers stirred. Some had seen. Others now saw the wet collar of the man they knew as the host. On the terrace, the lake lay like dark glass. The orchestra paused. Dario rushed down the steps. "Father, are you?" he began, then stopped when he saw the drink stain. The air tightened. Nadia smiled, sweet and quick. "Dario, it was an accident. This man, your gatekeeper, stepped into my path. My drink spilled. He is fine. It's fine." Kaspar looked at his son. He did not speak. He did not need to. Merrick lifted a hand. A staff member pressed a button. The small camera over the gate booth played the last 20 seconds on a screen by the bar, no sound, just clear images. The tilt of the glass, the arc of the drink, the smile. Silence opened wide enough to fall through. "Nadia," Dario said, voice steady. "Did you do that?" She reached for his hand. "Baby, it was... Did you do that?" he repeated. Her mouth flattened. "Yes, he was rude. He made me wait. He feeds strays. He embarrassed me. I taught him a lesson." Dario looked at the wet collar of the man who had raised him. He looked at the staff who kept the villa running with quiet pride. He looked at the guests, many of whom owed their jobs to the Iliev Foundation. Then he looked at Nadia. "My father worked as a porter when he was young," Dario said. "People called him names. He built this life anyway. He taught me to thank every person who makes a place work. If you cannot respect a gatekeeper, you cannot respect me." Nadia's eyes flashed panic. "I can change. I didn't mean..." He shook his head. "You meant it." The orchestra leader bowed his head. The guests stood very still. Nadia's voice sharpened. "So you choose them over me?" Dario held her gaze. "I choose kindness over cruelty. If you ever want to be part of this family, you must start with that." Nadia stepped back. For one moment, the mask dropped. He saw a hard line in her eyes, then a blur of fear, then anger. She turned and walked away, heels clicking like tiny hammers again. At the top of the steps, she paused and looked back, and for a heartbeat, it seemed she might apologize. Instead, she lifted her chin and kept walking into the night. The terrace exhaled. The night air cooled. Kaspar felt a hand on his shoulder. Dario stood beside him, eyes shining. "I'm sorry," Dario whispered. Kaspar shook his head. "You did nothing wrong." "I didn't see," Dario said. "Or I didn't want to." Kaspar put his arm around his son. "Love can be a bright light. Sometimes it blinds. But do not be ashamed of loving. Be proud of choosing better when you learn the truth." Dario nodded, then smiled a little through the ache. "You tricked me," he said. A tiny joke at the edge of a heavy moment. Kaspar actually laughed. A small, warm sound. "I tested her, not you. You passed when you brought soup to a stranger." A few staff wiped their eyes. Lena, the pastry chef, set a fresh lemon tart on the table and cleared her throat. "For the host," she said. "And for the gatekeeper who protected all of us today." Guests clapped softly. Not for a show. For a shared value. For the simple idea that how we treat the least powerful reveals who we are. Kaspar looked at the wet collar of his uniform. He touched the edge and finally wiped it dry. He let his tears fall freely now, not from pain but from relief. Relief that his son's heart was safe. Merrick leaned in. "Sir, Mrs. Bianchi has arrived. She runs the shelter by the train station. She asked if the foundation might help." Kaspar smiled at Dario. "Shall we go meet her?" Dario nodded. "Yes. And father, about the stray dog. Can we make sure he finds a home?" Kaspar grinned. "I was hoping you'd ask." They walked together toward the woman with kind eyes waiting near the staircase. As they moved, the orchestra picked up a gentle tune. The lamps shone. The lake ruffled like silk. The gates of Villa Ardentia stood closed for now, but another door, an unseen one, had just swung wide open. Kaspar took off the old cap and set it on the terrace rail. He turned to Dario and pressed a small box into his son's palm. The compass Dario had meant to give him earlier, now returned by fate. "Keep this," Kaspar said. "Let it point you to people who choose kindness when no one is watching." Dario opened the lid, smiled, and hugged his father tight. Under the lamps, with the music rising, the Iliev family chose the path they always hoped to walk. Together, with heads high, hearts open, and gates that protect what matters most.